and welcome back to Invincible Asia. I'm George Clark and this is another episode of Show and Tell, where today I get to share with you my Asian horror movie collection. Don't forget folks, before we go any further, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, ring the bell and all that jibber jabber, and thank you very much for supporting Invincible Asia. So if I have scheduled this correctly and you haven't left the house already to go trick or treating, then this episode of Show and Tell should be your Halloween evening viewing, which is just wonderful because who else am I going to share such a vast collection of Asian horror movies with? So yes, let's start with some videos as per usual. I also have in front of me here some anime DVDs and Blu-rays, and some VCDs also, just to start with this so I can clear those out of the way before I dig into the DVDs and Blu-rays of the movies. Now, a lot of these will be Hong Kong based movies, but I also have horror movies from the likes of Thailand, Korea, Japan, things like that. So it'll be a nice wee mixture to go through with you. But first of all, let's get stuck into this. And I wanted to bring the anime into it because it's been a big part of my life. I probably have more titles here on the shelf that are horror related. I mean, really, when you think about it, the likes of Fist of the North Star, Ninja Scroll, Midnight Eye Goku, those kinds of things have horror elements. The Guyver series, there's a lot of horror elements throughout many animes, but they're not strictly horror movies. And probably even these first few that I want to share with you aren't necessarily horror based, but it's a little horror comedy anime series I used to enjoy when I was a kid. Now, I don't have volume 1 anymore, Yuseo and Tora. Quite a fun show actually, and as a kid when you're watching this kind of thing, they definitely do have horror elements, but more so on the fantasy side of things. I'm not too sure how many episodes were ever released on the Western Connection label, but for what I did see and for what I did collect, these definitely entertain me, I have to say. And it would be good to perhaps go back and find these on DVD or Blu-ray to really upgrade them and enjoy them in its entirety. The next was one of my first big anime horror movies, Yorotsukuti Doji, Legend of the Overfiend. I mean, this is just an infamous horror anime. I mean, it's pretty insane. It's pretty vile. That's why it's rated 18. And there are a number of sequels also, which I don't believe that I've seen. I want to say that I maybe have caught part 2, but it's not sticking in my head there. So yeah, this one, although I mean, I do love watching it. I have got it upgraded on DVD and I will share that with you. But I mean, if you want your eyes opened and you're a fan of anime or just getting into anime, tread lightly because it is just friggin' mental and really, really disgusting. Now, another favorite series of mine was this Doomed Megalopolis, which again, I had to get these off eBay because I remember having them years ago and really, really enjoying the show. But this is a fantastic series of horror, supernatural, action. There's quite a lot going on there. And again, there's not really just any straightforward anime, I suppose. They do like to combine, much like Hong Kong movies, like to combine quite a lot of genres within one, oh sweet Jesus, within one thing. But this is episode 3, and I just really enjoy these. They're pretty short, anywhere between sort of 40 and 45 minutes on each tape. But I do feel that this is definitely one of those more horror-based ones that is definitely worth watching and picking up if you get the chance. Now, what I don't have on videotape anymore, unfortunately, is Wicked City and Monster City. I do have the film adaptation here, which I will get to you with, But in terms of the animes, I don't have them any longer. I did see they got a release on Blu-ray, and I will be picking them up. And then we have Judge. Again, just one of those ones that I saw as a young teen that really stuck with me. I love the art. There's an element, there's something to 80s and early 90s anime that you just don't kind of get today. And these kind of reminded me a lot of that. They're very nostalgic for me, but also another great horror piece for sure. Only 50 minutes in length, and I think it's only that one, basically that one chapter, one episode there. Then on to the Blu-rays and DVDs. Yorotsuku Didoji, Legend of the Overfiend. Legend of the Demon Moon. So part 2 is on the DVD. I thought I saw it. I can't remember it, so maybe I'll go back to that and give it another go. But this originally on sale at Forbidden Planet for $17.99. Thankfully I picked it up as a pre-owned DVD for £4. But yeah, definitely some of the best horror anime movies out there for sure. Seraph of the End, I do believe this is on Netflix. I just saw this for about, I think it was maybe £3 or £4 in HMV. Came with a book, tons of discs. Really excited to pick it up because it is from the makers of Attack on Titan. And it was an okay show, I have to say. I didn't give it enough time. I've only watched maybe 4 or 5 episodes, but it was beautifully, beautifully done. And I will go back to it again. But that, for £4, I thought that was just a wonderful little treat to pick up. And then, of course, there is the Oscar-winning and incredible Spirited Away from Studio Ghibli. Not a horror movie per se, but definitely horror-themed, depending on which age range you fall into. But beautifully done, and a very transcending kind of horror for the ages, I would say. It is beautiful, and we actually... our recent trip to London there last month or 2 months ago, we went to see this live on stage. I mean, wow, it just blew me away. It was incredible. Please, if you ever get the chance to see Spirited Away live on stage, do it. It was worth every penny. Soul Taker, again, another series that I picked up a long time ago and really enjoyed this actually. This was beautifully done. Can't remember too much in terms of its storyline, but thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Another one that I must go back to, but very dark, definitely more horror themed. Gaio Tokyo Fish Attack. Yes, this was a bit of a blind buy for me from Terracotta Distribution, but absolutely friggin' loved it. I mean, it was pretty much like a zombie movie with sharks, and of course we've had many of those Hollywood spoof action movies of Sharknado and things like that, but this animated feature definitely took it to a whole new level, and I highly recommend it for something different. And then one that I picked up in San Francisco for the price of $1, Grandma and Her Ghosts. I don't know anything about this yet. I haven't watched it. I'm kind of getting a sort of Spirited Away Mr. Vampire theme from it there, but I'm excited to eventually sit down and watch it. But yeah, I mean, that's all in terms of anime, I believe. Yes, okay. So in terms of the big box videos, I have a very crumbly, I mean, this thing is old and it's really crumbling away here. That's how old it is. Karate Ghostbuster, my first time ever seeing spiritual kung fu, and my first time owning it was picking up this X rental for £3. Karate Ghostbuster, number 54 in my collection whenever I started collecting as a young teen. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I still do. I'm glad that we got the Blu-ray restoration of it and stuff. But this is pretty special to me. I just need to replace that box. As is this wonderful Warner Home Video release of The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. Sort of Shaw Brothers teams up with Hammer Horror. They've done it a couple of times. And this I saw as a kid and it scared the bejesus out of me. But the fact that it had Kung Fu in it was fantastic. I did talk about this with my Shaw Brothers collection and asked if anyone knew there was a Blu-ray out there, and someone did say the Shout Factory put out a very good Blu-ray version of it, so I've still to pick that up. Then we have Ninja Vampire Busters, which is pretty much just known as Vampire Busters, I believe, with Jackie Chung, Ken Cheng, Stanley Fung, Nat Chan. I adore this movie. There is, oh my god, it's just mental. It's so much fun. It's rated 18, but it really doesn't need to be. There's a lot of good kind of Mr. Vampire stuff going on in there, but in a modern day setting. And it's definitely more Magic Cop than it is Mr. Vampire. But I had an absolute blast for this. It's only the English dub, but I've yet to ever pick it up in its original Cantonese language with English subtitles. Okay, moving on. Yes, the film adaptation of Wicked City. This was incredible. From Choi Hark, Yumu Ping, you've got Jackie Chung in there, Leon Lai, God, who else? It's just jam-packed with everything that you see in the anime. It is all here. It is adapted to the best of their abilities. Beautifully shot. I mean, gorgeously shot. If one movie needs a deluxe edition Blu-ray release from 88 Films, this is the one, because that would look absolutely stunning in a 2 or 4K restoration. Oh my god. Then we have the Eastern Heroes video releases of Spooky Encounters, the sequel to the amazing Sammo Hung classic, and one that we've still yet to see on Blu-ray. So I'm hoping that maybe Eureka follow up their Blu-ray release of Encounters of the Spooky Kind with part 2 here. Now this is my original that I bought many years ago, 1995. My god, this was the first one I bought and the first time I'd ever seen this movie, and I just adored it. Then when I was on eBay recently, I saw this alternate cover release, again released around the same time, but I don't know why they would have put two of them out. It does say 1995 on this, and they both have the same Eastern Heroes number of number 3, their third release. But I'm just glad that I picked it up in an alternate cover, because that's just kind of what I do as a collector. I love these alternative versions of these movies. Then The Seventh Curse from Hong Kong Classics. Again, a first time watch for me. Loved it. I've loved the re-release from 88 Films of that deluxe edition. It was great to see it restored and put out there and in all its glory, because it is an absolutely fabulous film. But again, just one of those wild Hong Kong action horror movies that needs to be seen to be believed. And then of course the legendary Mr. Vampire, which everyone just loves. The amazing Lam Ching Ying, produced by Sammo Hung, directed by Ricky Lau, and the gorgeous Chin Soo Hoo, Ricky Hoy, joining him there on screen. I think Made in Hong Kong also released Mr. Vampire 2, which I totally missed. I didn't get to pick up, so I'm still looking out for that to add to my collection. Then I have some alternate versions of Karate Ghostbuster, with different covers here, as you can see. A Karate Ghostbuster one and Spiritual Kung Fu, that it eventually became known as its original title here in the West. But yes, very interesting cover art there, as you can see. None of them to do with the movie themselves. And on the back, Jimmy Wang Yu from Killer Meteors, I believe. And just random shot of Jackie in a publicity shoot. But again, just to have these alternate versions is fantastic. Then we have the amazing Holy Virgin versus the Evil Dead, another one that we saw recently get restored and released by 88 Films. Number 2 on the Eastern Heroes label there, again in 1995. But again, a first time watch for me, and just bonkers. Ken Lo as the monstrous rapist Moon Monster is fantastic in this. So yes, if you can get your hands on the Blu-ray release, it is absolutely worth it. But I love this video. Always loved the trailers that Eastern Heroes and Made in Hong Kong put out before the film started. And that's what really sold it for me, was that music, that kind of like intense action behind it. And I really couldn't wait for that to be released. I want to get my hand on it. One that I haven't watched enough or a lot is July 13th. From director Wilson Chen, who did the Inspector Wears Skirt series. I really don't know enough about it. Deo Wong's in it. David Wu is in it. Michelle Reese is in it. But I don't know enough to really push this on you. I did watch it once when I bought it, When was that? 1996? But I've never went back to it again. Not that it's a bad movie, I've just never went back to it. Magic Cop, aka Mr. Vampire Part 5 to some people. But yes, this, again, another Eastern Heroes release, number 5 on their label in 1995. A fantastic edition. Love it so much. And again, glad that I got a Blu-ray restoration and re-release recently there, which was just fantastic. But this, for me, these little Eastern Heroes videos and Made in Hong Kong videos are like little treasures to me. I really love them. And then one of the biggest classics of Hong Kong cinema, a Chinese ghost story. I don't have part 2. I know Made in Hong Kong put out part 2 on video, I believe. Never did manage to pick that up, so I'm still looking out for that also. This was released in 1997, the 16th title on the Made in Hong Kong label, and the first time that I'd ever seen it, and it blew me away. It was something else, absolutely. And I have it many times now, which I'm going to share with you, no doubt, throughout this whole video. So I'll put that aside while I go through these VCDs, which again, if I've explained it once, I'll explain it 100 times. VCDs are less than video quality type picture on 2 discs. Separates the movie in half. They're cheap as chips, which is why I picked up loads of them when I was last in Hong Kong. But I regret that now, because the Blu-rays that are coming out have really spoiled us, and VCDs are really doing nothing for us. Saying that, there is really a good chance that you're going to find harder to find titles on VCD than you will on DVD or Blu-ray. So one of those, of course, is Those Merry Souls with Yuen Biao. I think Moon Lee pops up in here also. Eric Chang, Stanley Fung. This is a very fun movie. Kind of typical of its time, and kind of that ghostly comedy horror element to it with some martial arts action. But I really enjoy it, and I hope after getting the Champions from the Eureka video that we perhaps get Those Merry Souls one day pretty soon, which would be awesome. The other is Haunted Cop Shop, which I'm really hoping gets a Blu-ray release, because this is a fabulous movie with Jackie Chung. Really love it. Kind of like The Inspectors Wear Skirts meets Mr. Vampire, I suppose. It's always going to go back to that, isn't it? This is actually part 2. I've just realised part 1 I have on DVD, but this is Haunted Cop Shop 2, which is just as good, if not slightly better. Great fun to be had, and one that I haven't watched in some time. I got to go back to that. This movie I really enjoyed though. Yeah, this was fantastic. The Phantom Killer with Wei Pei, just such a well-made kung fu horror movie. I really enjoyed this. I should have upgraded it, and I don't think I have upgraded it onto DVD, but definitely one I would urge you to check out for something a bit different, and quite a lot of fun to be had with that. Picture of a Nymph with Yuen Biao, a kind of a remake of a Chinese ghost story, still with Joey Wong playing a very similar character. Again, another one that I would like to see on Blu-ray. Not for any particular reason, only that it's another Yuen Biao movie. It's okay, it's fun to be had. Wu Ma's in there, of course. And it is very samey same, with kind of a lot of the cast members from a Chinese ghost story, but still quite an enjoyable watch. You can't go wrong with Yuen Biao, and these kind of underrated titles of his I would like to see brought back. What have we got? Devil Fetus. Oh my god, this was mental. Yeah, I remember this one. I haven't watched it in quite a few years, but what a crazy movie. Very old school Hong Kong horror. Definitely not one for those with weak stomachs, but a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect going into it. As I say, I bought a lot of these VCDs as blind buys, but that one I really enjoyed. As did I this Blue Jean Monster with the late Shing Fu-on. Of course, got a Blu-ray release from 88 Films, and well deserved, because this movie is just bonkers, and I will share more with you on that when we get to the Blu-ray section. But as for now, that's all my anime, VCD and VHS of this horror collection that I have so far. Wow. Oh, do you ever start something and then wish you'd never even started it? This is what I'm kind of thinking for this video, because there's far too many titles here on DVD. Of course, there's a lot of other kind of what are considered horror movies, a lot of Korean thrillers, I would say, more so, like I Saw the Devil, or say Village of Doom, for example. There's a lot of stuff that could be added here, but I would definitely say they're more about serial killers, they're more about the thriller side of things and not strictly horror. So these ones I would definitely include in the horror sort of genre of Asian cinema. But yeah, there's far too many to talk about, so I will just showcase them with you and kind of talk briefly about certain titles as I go through them. But yeah, this is now the DVD section of my Asian horror movie collection. So I'm just going to start from Z to A here and just showcase each one of them with you as I go through them. Behind me here on the DVD shelves, there are gaps everywhere because there's so many to share with you. But yes, I'm going to do this backwards in alphabetical order so I know exactly where I'm putting them back and don't spend all day trying to find its correct spot. So bear with me. First up then, we have got Zombie Fight Club. A film that is very, very similar to my second movie, my own second directed film called The Knackery. And yeah, this I don't think I've watched since I've ever bought it, but it was good fun. I did enjoy it. So I was kind of racking my brain trying to think back to the first real Asian horror movie that I had seen. And to be honest, I can't really remember straight up. I did remember now, I did catch all those movies on Channel 4 way back when they played at Christmas. You had the likes of Zoo Warriors, Mr. Vampire, Encounters of the Spooky Kind, Esprit d'Amour, and The Spiritual Lover with Chow Yun-fat. And that, I would say that collection of movies there were quite possibly the first real Hong Kong horror movies from that genre that I had sort of really seen. Now, yes, I had others in between that, Karate Ghostbuster and things like that, which weren't specifically horror movies as such, but I certainly had seen others along the way. But then, of course, whenever Made in Hong Kong started putting them out, I got to see a lot more, and I was very, very happy with that, of course, because this is definitely a genre, or a subgenre, of Hong Kong cinema and Asian cinema that had really appealed to me. Again, I was a huge fan of Hammer horror movies and even sort of independent, 80s independent horror movies I absolutely adored. So it was great to kind of find this subgenre that really pulled that together, that really blended the both of these two genres that I absolutely adored, between martial arts and horror, which was just wonderful. But yeah, and again, that's kind of been an inspiration to myself whenever it comes to filmmaking, which is why I've always kind of combined the action and the horror in my movies. But yeah, I would say definitely once Made in Hong Kong started pumping them out, and then Eastern Heroes, of course, around the same time, started giving us a wee bit more insight to the horror genre of Asian cinema there. But yeah, then of course once the DVD market came in, you were getting the likes of this J-horror and this splatter gore, such as Tokyo Gore Police and Machine Girl and all that kind of stuff. But by that point, of course, I had seen quite a number of especially Hong Kong horror movies, and I couldn't do you know what? There's very few, I would say, that I turned my nose up at. Very, very few. And I still have some of them in my collection here. It's not that every one of them are worth seeing and every one of them are amazing, but there's certainly scenes and elements of certain Hong Kong or Asian horror movies that are an absolute must, because they like to push the boundaries. Now, you have different types, of course. You have that Joey Wong ghostly fantasy, which remade or made fun of or homaged or whatever. There's so many movies that kind of want to be a Chinese ghost story or the next Chinese ghost story, and if they cast Joey Wong, she's kind of always been thrown into that role. which is grand, you know. There's nothing like stereotyping. You have the likes of Lam Ching Ying there. Once he done Mr. Vampire, you know, he was always basically the vampire buster as such. In terms of the other early video stuff, or even on television, there wasn't too much. Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires was, I would say, definitely the first. Now I think about it there, definitely the first sort of kung fu horror movie. And again, that was that connection with Hammer Studios, which was just amazing and really, really, really appealed to me. And as a young man, or young child I should say, frightened the life out of me because it was very creepily done. But I really, really enjoyed it. I suppose Big Trouble in Little China to some degree, when you're a kid and you're watching that also, it has that element of horror in there as well. And, you know, there were certain other things that showed up throughout my life that kind of fell into this subgenre. But as I say, now you've got this blend of genres in Hong Kong cinema especially, that kind of carry horror, action, fantasy, comedy, romance, and they just pull them all together. And that then became a massive appeal to me in having this mixture of genres that a lot of people in the West really can't take to and don't like. Whereas me, personally, I think it is just genius. And a lot of people criticize my own movies for that homage of what I see as entertainment there. Having that from the makers of On Back and Chocolate on there is a crime, because there is none of what goes on in On Back and Chocolate in this movie. Those are two hardcore martial arts movies. This is not. This is absolutely one for the horror genre for sure. But yes, 13 Game of Death. If you get the chance, check it out. Jesus Christ, that's all the DVDs. Let's go to the Blu-ray. So on to the Blu-rays and 4Ks of the Asian horror movie collection here. And to be honest, I was thinking about it there. You know, I've put like Men Behind the Sun here, for example. But there's other movies, as I talked about, a lot of those Korean thrillers. But then you've got the likes of Bride with White Hair. Some people even class Godzilla as a horror movie. You know, where do you draw the line? I don't think Godzilla is a horror movie as such. It is to some. It is to many people who went through that in Japan, for example, and what that movie represents. But there are certain movies there that are sold as horrors, and I don't feel they are. Like, for example, Eureka kind of pushed the Miracle Fighters and its follow-ups in that kind of same horror label. That same design is what they do with Dead and the Deadly Encounters, Mr. Vampire, etc. But they're not really horror movies as such. So I've kind of gathered the Blu-rays that I feel are really, apart from the Men Behind the Sun, but it's very horrific in many, many ways. And some of those are Cat 3 movies, because that's where the horror element comes in. There, you know, there is more to ghosts and monsters and things like that. There are the serial killers, yes. There are the horrors of life, I suppose, and that's where some of these movies do fall in. Okay, let me get some of these out of the way. First of all, I have the Bong Joon-ho collection from Curzon, which again is upgrades, beautiful upgrades of Barking Dogs, Never Bite, Memories of Murder, The Host, Mother, Snowpiercer, and the incredible Parasite, which again, to many, could be a horror movie. Not to me. Anyway, this was a beautiful, beautiful piece. I had to get it. And of course, as soon as I got my hands on it, not long after that, have they been talking about and already started releasing 4K single editions of a lot of these movies. So, you know what? I'll probably end up with them too. But for me, this was a beautifully done box set. And to get these upgrades in HD was absolutely worth it for me. Okay, then Arrow have pumped out the Ring and the Grudge collection, which is fantastic. But first of all, let me get this beautiful Nova Media trilogy of A Chinese Ghost Story out of the way, because it is beautifully done. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous package. Lacks a host of special features, of course. But again, to get that trilogy kind of upgraded there, still not the finest. I would say that it'd be great to see the likes of Eureka or 88 put out this trilogy with a 2 or 4K restoration. But it is a beautiful wee set, and again, probably three of the most talked about movies from the horror genre of Hong Kong cinema. This Ring collection I adored. Again, picked this up and then there was announced that there was a 4K edition. So this is only the Blu-ray one, but still, again, to see all the movies in HD and cleaned up was beautiful. Did have a great time with them once again. Have they held up so well? Probably not, but still fantastic and absolute must for any horror fan for sure. But that box set for me is, yes, I'm keeping that. I don't need to upgrade to 4K if I'm being honest. Then Arrow also put out Ju-On the Grudge collection, which was fabulous. I think it was only the first Grudge came in 4K itself, as in on a 4K disc. Yeah, the first one. But all the rest looked amazing. Their prints were gorgeous. Watching them sort of back to back and having that kind of Grudge marathon was fantastic. But this was a wonderful set. Highly recommended. Again, if you're a fan of that J-horror from around that period of time there. Let me go 88 here. We've got a collection of Shaw Brothers movies because they did release a lot of Shaw Brothers horrors in the beginning whenever they were kind of going into this sort of Asian collection of movies that they were doing there. You got The Spiritual Boxer, which I shared with you on... Oh, and I totally missed one. Be right back. Oh, jeez Louise. Okay, so yes, Spiritual Boxer 1, and quite recently there, they just released The Spiritual Boxer 2 as the shadow boxing. This awesome vampire-inspired front cover, which was great. And the movie itself, a first time watch for me, and I loved it. It was absolutely fabulous. Not quite Mr. Vampire, but still definitely well worth picking up. So yes, two fantastic Shaw Brothers titles from them. Then there was the Oily Maniac, which is just bonkers. If you can imagine Swamp Thing on a budget or something like that, this is what you're going to get. But this is a nutty movie. But I had a lot of fun with this. I haven't watched it in some time, but the first time that I did and the second time, I did thoroughly enjoy it. Definitely has a very independent feel to it, but I really do love it. Human Lanterns, the Blu-ray upgrade for me, of course, from that DVD, but this is wonderful, and I believe a fully uncut version, which is fantastic, and to be able to see it in HD. But that artwork from Kung Fu Bob there really sells the movie for what it is. Fantastic. Hex was another I thoroughly enjoyed. This is an early Shaw Brothers one again. I say early, I think late 70s into early 80s, but still a fantastic movie overall. Some elements in there of horror that even at me today, I was still quite shocked at what this was delivering. Fantastic though, and well worth checking out. An unopened one here I haven't got through round to yet is The Ghost Lovers. Again, I'm kind of guessing that this one could be more of a Chinese ghost story style of a movie, but of course shot well before that there. 1974 to be precise there. But yes, I will get to that again. There's quite a few that I have yet to watch. The Enchanting Ghost, another one of those earlier Shaw's horrors, I suppose. 1970, I believe. But definitely made a big impression there. And I do have some of these titles again in the German media books, perhaps, or the Shout Factory collections, but I haven't pulled them into this because I've already shown you them here. Bride from Hell is one of those titles there, and it's a great movie again. Nothing spectacular, but it's a short enough running movie to enjoy and get through if you like classic horror. Black Magic was one. This was a first time watch for me when this came out on Blu-ray from Idiot Films, but just crazy. There was a lot of Black Magic type movies, and again this was kind of one of the bigger ones that triggered all that off, followed by Black Magic 2, which I have yet to get stuck into, but I'm quite excited to see it. But yeah, Black Magic 2 with Lo Lei there, Ti Lung. And do you know what? There's definitely a love for the Shaw Brothers films that delved into this. Bewitched being one of those as well, which is quite bonkers. Melvin Wong, I remember having quite a prominent role in this. I've only watched it the once since I bought it, but I will certainly give it another shot, of course. Then we have the more modern titles from 88 Films. One of those being The Untold Story, this deluxe edition of this insane Category 3 movie. I mean, I showed this to my husband. He didn't watch, he couldn't go any further with it. He only watched so much of it. We actually did an audio commentary with this. There's a lot to be said for some Cat 3 movies that aren't specifically horror movies, but I feel that what's contained in those movies themselves, like Untold Story and Ebola Syndrome, for example, absolutely are worthy of the horror title. Spiritual Kung Fu Blu-ray upgrade with amazing art from Kung Fu Bob again. Yes, I know, not specifically a horror movie, but it still falls into that genre. And The Seventh Curse with its deluxe edition. Fabulously done, wonderfully put together here with great artwork from Sean Longmore and a lot of extra features to be had. So this was a great upgrade from the video, from the DVD and so on. So I do love that. As same with Magic Cop, beautifully done here. Loving this artwork again from Sean Longmore, absolutely gorgeous. And again, to be able to see this movie upgraded from both that video and DVD was fabulous. It's a lot of fun. Stephen Tung Wai directs, Lam Ching Ying stars along with Wilson Lam, who I'm not a huge fan of, I have to say. I don't see what the appeal is. And Kung Fu Bob is back with Holy Virgin versus the Evil Dead. Look at this cover as well. Absolutely fabulous. This was a nice release, quite a surprise, but I'm very, very happy that they did it because I had a lot of fun with this movie. I've always really enjoyed it from that Eastern Heroes video, but when they announced it that they were putting it out on Blu, I was super, super excited. Then they started up this line, you can see it here with Gyra's Guts trilogy, but Japanarchy. This was kind of like a sub-label of 88 Films, focusing on kind of Japanese horror movies, I suppose, such as Evil Dead Trap and Evil Dead Trap 2, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought it was a fantastic movie. A lot of people kind of hated it, but I really, really enjoyed it. Gyra's Guts, I suppose I could share with you as well. This is their recent one. Wonderful work on the boxes and on all the discs inside and the menus from Ilan Sheedy. This is absolutely well worth picking up. Totally have fallen in love with this director, and this box set is totally one of my favorites. It is gorgeously done and put together, and probably one of my favorites on their Japanarchy label. Erotic Ghost Story got a gorgeous deluxe edition set here, as you can see, but they're also pumping it out again with the other two movies. Now, I shared with you the Erotic Ghost Story trilogy on DVD, and this here, again featuring wonderful artwork from Kung Fu Bob, is a must, of course, but now that trilogy is coming out, it's going to be exciting to see what they're going to do with that. And again, Kung Fu Bob graces the artwork here for Ebola Syndrome. That, I mean, this film for me is just the ultimate Cat 3 movie. Now, saying that, I did get a new one recently, which I will share with you. That kind of comes close to topping that. It's fucked up. Then we have the Blue Jean Monster on Blu-ray from 88 Films, which are, again, a movie I never dreamed would ever reach Blu-ray here in the West, but I am super happy that they did do it because it's such a fabulous movie. Different in its horror element, very much an action comedy at the same time, but there's enough going on there, and I just feel that if you are a fan of any type of Asian cinema, Blue Jean Monster is definitely one you should check out. Now, on the other side, Eureka, who have been releasing some incredible stuff. They really aren't pumping out a lot of Asian horror movies. They did start with the likes of Mr. Vampire and so on, but then they started giving us The Dead and the Deadly, which I adore. This is a fantastic Sammo Hung movie. Again, a movie I never imagined that would reach our shores on Blu-ray, and I'm super happy for it. I did see a Hong Kong Blu-ray kind of kicking around, and when I was working myself up to kind of import it, some of them were a bit iffy. Whenever then Eureka announced that they were going to do it, and I thought, fuck it, I am waiting, because I love the DVD. I really enjoyed this movie, and seeing it with its 2K restoration was just friggin' fabulous. It looked fantastic and kind of falls into almost like a semi-sequel for Encounters of the Spooky Kind here. Adored this release, beautiful piece. I have it a couple of times on Blu-ray. I'm going to share that with you again, the other edition there. But this was a fabulous piece from Eureka. Now, we also had, as I said, Mr. Vampire, which, again, one of my all-time favourites and a favourite for many. It is genuinely a classic of Hong Kong cinema. And they soon followed that up with all of the sequels, and I'm just sorry they didn't put part 1 back into this. I wouldn't have minded paying a wee bit extra for that, but here we have Mr. Vampire 2, Mr. Vampire 3, Mr. Vampire 4, or known as Mr. Vampire Saga 4, and Vampire vs. Vampire, which is sometimes known as Part 5, but it's not officially Part 5. But anyway, a fabulous collection. If you really loved Mr. Vampire Part 1, you want to get your hands on this because it is absolutely fecking gorgeous. But that's kind of all that they've put out there in that horror element. They did put out Bride with White Hair, as I said, and certain other ones that maybe just don't fall into the horror bracket enough. Anyway, let's see what other releases I have here. I've got the Steelbook releases of Attack on Titan, the live action movies 1 and 2. Again, a lot of hate from the fans of the anime and manga, understandably so, but certain times you have to, and it's the same with the Marvel Universe, you have to just kind of take that source material and work with it and change things to suit the movie, and that's what they did here. But still, fabulous, fabulous movies, really gruesome in some parts, and definitely has that horrific element to it whenever these monsters are attacking. When these titans are coming in and ripping people apart and eating them, there's definitely a horror element to it. But I just thought I'd throw them in there as a little wild card. The likes of Men Behind the Sun also with that. The UK Blu-ray release of Blood, The Last Vampire. I adore the anime, the original anime. It is absolutely one of my favorites. It's fabulous. But this movie just didn't really do it for me. There wasn't enough going on here. Christoph Gans behind it, I believe. I know Mike Leader worked on it because he's told me a lot about it with working on the scenes, and I've seen a lot of photos with him there. But the movie itself didn't really win me over. Still, when I found that Blu-ray in Poundland for £1, obviously, I was very, very excited. Then we have the Unearthed Classics Blu-ray release of Dr. Lamb, another Cat 3 movie with Simon Yam. It's pretty messed up. Not as much, in my eyes, as The Untold Story or Ebola Syndrome for sure, but still one that I'm hoping that 88 are going to pump out here in the UK with a deluxe edition to kind of keep that Cat 3 going. Another one from Unearthed, and again I have the 88 Films double release there of Evil Dead Trap 1 and 2, but definitely 88 have given us a better edition all over. Hiruku the Goblin, again I showed you that DVD, love this movie, and this is the Blu-ray that really just took it to a whole new level. You can go and check out my unboxing video for this, which came out probably last week or the week before, but definitely for me, absolutely one that you should check out if you're a fan of practical effects and fun J-horror. Same with Meatball Machine. This movie is just bonkers. Very much an independent horror movie, but so cleverly done, very, very creative and absolutely wild. The HD version looks beautiful. Again, I'll never go back to that DVD. Now I have this gorgeous HMV release of Peninsula, which was the follow-up movie to the incredible Train to Busan. Peninsula was a lot of fun. I didn't think that this was better than Train to Busan. There was just something Hollywood about this in trying to like take it up another level there and just do a wee bit too much, whereas Train to Busan had something special about it. But still, this was a gorgeous release, beautifully done, and again, if you are a fan of the first, absolutely well worth picking up. Then we have the Kaleidoscope UK release of Project Wolf Hunting. My God, What a mental movie. Some of you may say it's not a horror movie, but there are definitely horror elements to this. Almost like on a Resident Evil kind of scale of things there. Yes, it is very much an action thriller, but there is definitely horror elements to it there. And a fabulous movie all around. Really adored that. You can go back and check out my video review on the site, or on the channel for that. And then we have Rampant. Game of Thrones meets 28 Days Later. If you ever caught the K-drama or K-horror Kingdom on Netflix, which I highly recommend because it is fabulous, this is the feature-length adaptation of that show. And I do love this, but the show itself, I feel, was much better. Another unopened one, Tommy Unlimited. Again, just saw it in HMV on sale and thought I may as well grab that there. But I have yet to check it out. And then, of course, Train to Busan. I have 2 editions here. I don't know why. I've got the UK release, and yes, this was sent to me in some fan mail. I believe it's the Wellgo USA release there, and they pretty much have everything the other has there. But one of my favorites, fabulous movie, emotional, scary, intense, just incredible. And then Unearthed Classics released the Untold Stories. This would have been the first time I'd seen it in full HD before 88 Films put it out there. But it's typical, when I pay that wee bit extra to import something, it suddenly gets announced by 88 or Eureka, which drives me fucking insane, but still good to have. Okay, where do we go next? We have a Cine Asia Blu-ray release of Robo Geisha. I love this movie. Again, came out alongside Tokyo Gore Police, Machine Girl, all that, and it is just mental. Not so much falls into that I'm scared horror element, but definitely has that splatter gore and very fun horror comedy style to it there. And then again, Massacre put out the Men Behind the Sun series. Now the first one, absolutely fucking horrific, just insane. You can go back and check out audio commentaries or visual audio commentaries that we've done on all of these movies. Part 2 from Godfrey Ho was kind of like a remake of the first one, but again, all just insane. But that first one for me is absolutely a horror movie in regards to what went on during these wartime crimes, but the movies themselves are all very, very different and gradually get worse, but that first one is well worth checking out. Then we have Error 4444. Okay, I don't want to jump into their latest right now, so I'm going to start with some of their earlier releases, which is this gorgeous Centipede horror Blu-ray release. Now these guys are doing an incredible job. They're getting better and better with every release, and this really started it off. I had Centipede Horror and Red Spell Spells Red, 2 movies that I had never had the pleasure of watching, but when I saw what these guys were doing with them and this gorgeous artwork put out with them, I thought I gotta get my hands on these because they are fecking beautiful, and I'm so glad that I did. And they went on to release a lot of other titles, action classics there, but then hit those up with Category 3 classic Run and Kill from Billy Tang, which this was a first time watch for me, and holy shit, wow, like I mean, it just blew me away. It was absolutely incredible Category 3 kind of horror thriller. It was mental. Now only last week then, or the week before, I got in their latest round of movies, and that included Red to Kill. I mean, holy Jesus. When I said that there's a movie that may just top Ebola Syndrome, Ben Ung in this movie, I mean, he's hot as fuck, but this movie is insane. Absolutely insane. A first time watch for me. I mean, it just blew my mind. It was incredible. So again, please check out that unboxing video for this and get all the lowdown on what's included there. But it was mad. Absolutely mad. Okay, the Arrow video Blu-ray release of Versus. I love this movie so much. When I got it on DVD, I watched it religiously every week, maybe more. And every person that came into my house had to sit down and watch this movie. So whenever they announced this 2K restoration, I was like, yes, please. And it is absolutely fabulous, worth every penny of out of your pocket there. And then the Arrow release of Horrors of Malformed Men. Again, a very different type of horror, a piece of classic Japanese cinema, but absolutely something I had never seen before and just blew my mind. It was insane to watch. Very, very different compared to that splatter gore side of Japanese cinema. This was very, very different. Okay, and another that I've just unboxed this month, and please go back and check out that video, is the Bloodthirsty trilogy. This Hammer Studio inspired collection of vampire movies, which I really, really loved. I thought they were so well done. Nothing fascinating, but just a really nice old school kind of vampire horror vibe to it, and definitely you can see that inspiration from the Hammer Studios. But a gorgeous cover, 3 movies on there, not a lot of extras, but still a really nice buy. I was so glad to get that. And then I talked about the Arrow Blu-ray upgrade of A Tale of Two Sisters. This is a must. Again, this movie for me was wonderful on DVD. To get that Tartan Asia Extreme DVD was fantastic, but this Blu-ray release was something else. It was just beautiful. Every scene felt like I was watching it for the first time, just with that upgrade. Incredible, and absolutely, again, well worth checking out. A few Nova Media ones here, and again, the Blu-ray release of Out of the Dark I talked about when I showed you the DVD, but this HD upgrade was fabulous. Again, felt like I was watching the movie for the first time. Just did an unboxing video for it on the channel throughout Shocktober, so please check that out. Another Chao Xing-chi one, again, not horror in the scary sense, but horror in the comedy sense, and that is Lookout Officer, one of my favorites of his. And I saw this on bootleg video donkeys ago. I ordered it again from an ad at the back of Impact, but whenever I saw that Nova Media had put it out on Blu-ray, this was an absolute must. Chao Xing-chi, Stanley Fung, and Uncle Bill Tung there, but just a funny movie all over. And then the other Blu-ray release I have of Encounters of the Spooky Kind. Love this original Hong Kong artwork, of course, but this is the Nova Media one, and I kind of put it up when I did the unboxing for the Eureka Video Blu-ray release. I kind of put it up against this, and I feel that Eureka's was a much cleaner transfer all over, but I do love that artwork with that. Then we have Vinegar Syndrome, who also have joined the party here, and they, of course, Vinegar Syndrome do a lot of independent horrors, but they also have put out quite a range of Asian horror movies, which is fantastic, and specifically from Hong Kong, such as Untold Story 2, which I had never seen before, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It was quite an interesting movie. Definitely not like the first. It did star Anthony Wong in a very different role, but still I was quite happy to have paid the pennies for it. Really hoping they do follow up with Untold Story 3. That would be great to see. Then they started this collection of Made in Hong Kong. This is volume 1, contains 3 lesser known movies: The Demon's Baby, Erotic Nightmare, and The Deadly Camp. Kind of late 90s productions. Wong Jing's involved with some of them. They weren't amazing in any sense of the word at all, but still pretty cool to see. And I would like to see Vinegar Syndrome continuing this Made in Hong Kong range of lesser known movies. I think it would be pretty cool if they put out a few more there. But this was a nice wee set, maybe a wee bit too pricey, but still nice to have. Ghost Nursing, again another that I didn't imagine that they would be putting out there. Recently they just announced Corpse Mania, which I've got on pre-order, which I'm very excited for. But Ghost Nursing was quite an interesting one. Chin Yut Sang on the front there, I think Wilson Tong involved as well, and Billy Chan. But this, this was a fun movie. Again, sort of harken back to those Black Magic movies from Shaw Brothers. It has that same kind of flavour to it, and it was quite messed up. There was certainly some scenes throughout that made me raise an eyebrow. Then we have, I believe this is 4K, yep, the 4K release of Ebola Syndrome from Vinegar Syndrome. Beautifully put together, gorgeous print. this artwork was pretty damn cool. And again, quite different from what 88 Films had put out there, but I don't know, I guess this 4K one kind of sort of stood up tall there with what it offered in terms of its quality. But the movie itself, no matter what way you see it and how you see it, will always have the same effect on you. It will make you either want to throw up or laugh uncontrollably with nerves. But it is a disgusting, disgusting movie, and I love it. So Biocops, or Biozombie, sorry, the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, which really made me love this movie a wee bit more. It was definitely worth getting and seeing it in that sort of cleaned up, restored HD version. I quite enjoyed that. But yeah, like that. A favourite of mine, a favourite Lam Ching Ying movie of mine that again I never imagined would get a Blu-ray release is An Eternal Combat. Again, kind of bringing Joey Wong into that Chinese ghost story kind of role. Combining, let's say, elements of a Chinese ghost story with Mr. Vampire to some degree. But this, there are elements of horror, there are elements of the supernatural, and there are elements of Anthony Wong being another absolute nutcase psycho in it. But for me, it's a bonkers movie, and I just adore it. I love these movies that are genre blending, that mash everything up. It doesn't have to make sense. It's the film world. You're supposed to escape. Then I got this from them quite recently, a Chinese torture chamber story, 1 and 2. First time watches for me, but my God, what a journey. They're very different movies. The first one from Bosco Lam was probably more intense, probably more shocking, kind of like Sex and Zen, kind of cranked up a wee bit there, and a lot more brutality. Sex and Zen didn't really have a lot of brutality, I suppose, but this definitely had the brutality. But I loved it. I love both of them, and again, you can go back through the month of October's videos there and see my unboxing video and review of both of these. So anyway, that is pretty much all of my collection of Asian horror movies. I don't even know if you're still here. To be honest, I could be talking to myself. But anyway, yes, my legs are numb. I do need to move. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support. This has been another episode of Show and Tell. I'm George Clark, and until next time, enjoy your Asian horror movies, and I will speak to you soon. So thank you once again for watching another video here on Invincible Asia. Don't forget you can check out hundreds of others here on the channel. You can also show your continued support by heading over to my new merch store or by checking out invincibleasia.com, where you can read my full movie reviews, and follow me on Instagram at InvincibleAsia. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu, and I will see you soon.